It's Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you had a fantastic weekend with your loved ones. I'm happy to be here today on Monday, May 11th. We are talking about the Alabama quarterback position. And at 9:20, we are going to have Tony Tsoukalis of BamaInsider.com join us to talk about the quarterback situation at Alabama. And be sure and join us today. Be sure and like and follow. And I want to get your calls as well. So the call line is open 205-686-3604, talking the quarterback position at Alabama. And one thing that I'm curious to get your take on today is, where is Taulia Tagovailoa going to end up? I want to get your take. So be sure and call 205-686-3604 is the call line number. And I was thinking about this earlier. I was thinking, where could Taulia Tagovailoa go? And I don't think it was any surprise that he transferred out from Alabama, right? I think that the fact that Taulia Tagovailoa eventually, he saw the writing on the wall. You have Mack Jones returning for his redshirt junior season after leading Alabama when Tua went down. And you also have incoming freshman 5-star Bryce Young coming in. So I think the writing was on the wall in terms of when he was going to transfer. Now, I think we all assumed that he would transfer after Tua Tagovailoa did get drafted. And that's exactly what happened. He announced that he is in the NCAA transfer portal. So he hasn't necessarily transferred yet, but he is in the transfer portal. And I'm curious to get your take on where he goes. I know a lot of people feel that he's going to simply just go to a school in Florida, the Miami area, right? You got Miami, Florida Atlantic, Florida International, South Florida. But I was thinking about this, and how crazy would this be? I was thinking about this. What if Taulia Tagovailoa headed over to LSU, right? What about even to Maryland? I know, Mike Locksley has developed a relationship over the last couple of years. He was at Alabama when Tua was just a freshman. He knows the Tagovailoas. He could probably play right away. And I was looking at, where could Taulia Tagovailoa play the fastest, right? LSU might be an interesting spot. But then again, would you be downgrading to a quarterback like Taulia? I mean, after Joe Burrow, right? It almost doesn't make sense. So I want to get your call in the comment box. And thanks for all the comments. And thanks for joining us today. Call line is open. 205-686-3604 is the call line number. Call line is open. And thank you for joining us. If you're just new to Bama Insider, we appreciate you guys giving us a thumbs up, liking, and sharing our content. We got a ton of content on BamaInsider.com. And if you're on YouTube, we got a ton of content there, same as Facebook. And you can also follow us on Twitter. BamaInsider.com is simply the handle. So I also want to get your take on this. And when we talk about additional items in the quarterback room, what do you think about Mack Jones returning? I know we've talked about it several times, but the fact that Mack Jones returning for his junior season, and here we go. We got a call right now coming in. Hello, how's it going? Good morning. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with, and where are you calling from?
This is Terry from Birmingham.
How you doing? Off to a good start this Monday?
Doing pretty good. Actually, it's my birthday today.
No way, it's your birthday? What? Let me get your name on the show. What's your name? I missed it.
It's Terry Truss.
Terry from Birmingham, and it's your birthday.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So you're on the line. We're talking quarterbacks today. I mean, it's your show, so you go ahead and take it, Terry.
Well, just to start off about Taulia, I think Taulia, as far as destination-wise, is what I'm thinking. Of the schools I'm thinking about, I think it's got to be possibly Miami. I could see Oklahoma maybe as another one. Oregon is another good situation. Memorial Cristobal. Maybe Maryland. Maryland is a pretty open spot. He can go play right away. Mm-hmm. But I'm thinking maybe Miami. It's because of the simple fact it is home down there where Tua is right now. Yep. And it does give the Tagovailoa a little bit more leeway as far as keeping up with him more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this, Terry. And by the way, happy birthday. I hope you have a fantastic day. I can't believe you call on your birthday. It's awesome to start the day with you, and it's your birthday. Let me ask you this, Terry. I mean, we saw splashes of Taulia Tagovailoa last season, right? Just a splashes. And we saw it mostly in the Arkansas game where he displayed some good escapability. He had a couple good throws. We saw him, if you rewinded the A-Day game, I believe he had a touchdown pass. Do you think that Taulia Tagovailoa is going to have a successful college football career based on his attributes that you've seen from him?
Well, I think it depends, though. I think it depends on this. It depends on if he goes to the correct system, number one,
Mm-hmm.
and he needs to go to the right coach is going to be able to develop his skill set.
Mm-hmm.
Because Taulia has a pretty unique skill set. It's not, he doesn't have like, he's more athletic than Tua, true enough, everybody knows that. And as far as the arm is concerned, it's kind of there with Tua's, but, it's not fully polished just yet, just because of the game, because he hasn't played a lot more than Tua. So I think it's more of those two particular things is going to happen. It's going to be fit, and it's going to be, who can groom him into the right style.
Yeah, I think unfortunately we didn't get to see any of these guys during the springtime, right? Because we never got a chance to gauge just how good these quarterbacks were going to be. Not even Bryce Young, and that's kind of my next area that I want to talk about. We didn't get to find out how much Mac Jones has progressed. I think we all kind of know his talent level, but we didn't get to see Bryce Young at all because there was no spring football, and we didn't get to see Taulia Tagovailoa. And here's another name that we didn't get to see, and nobody's talking about Paul Tyson in the room. Paul Tyson, 6'5", 235 pounds. He's Alabama's only pro-style quarterback, and now he's number 3 on the depth chart. But yeah, I mean, I think based off his skill set, and I'm talking about Taulia Tagovailoa, it'd be interesting to see where he goes and how he progresses and how he develops. He's obviously undersized. He's a lot different body type than his brother. I mean, Tua's a big dude. Taulia isn't that mold, but he still has some good attributes, and I'm curious to see where he goes, number one, and number two, how his college career does progress moving forward. Anything else, Terry, while you're on the line? I appreciate you calling in on your birthday.
I appreciate it, man. Just as far as the quarterback situation is concerned, I know as far as for Bryce Young, it's a little bit of a disadvantage now, just because the summer he missed camp, and now he's going to be working a little bit backwards as far as learning the playbook and also actually learning who the guys getting a get feel on the offense and who he wants to definitely throw to. But I'm thinking Mack's going to probably start off because of the experience factor, and I know Coach Saban definitely wants to put in the right guy in the right job. If it doesn't even matter if he was a freshman or not. But I'm thinking Mack's probably going to start off, and eventually on down the line, if Bryce Young definitely catches up on the curve and definitely shows and improves, and that he can definitely handle the reins, he's eventually going to take over.
Yeah, I think, and that's something that we talked today on BamaInsider.com, and we're going to have Tony Stukalis join us at 9:20 a.m. this morning. Thanks for following us today on Bama Insider. I think you bring up a really good point, Sarah, and the fact that how good is Bryce Young, number one, going to be, and how does he progress during the season, right? And when we talk about season, I'm just talking about the season is going to continue. I don't know if it's going to be pushed back, but let's just say that the season does continue and Bryce Young does progress naturally through the season. Is he going to be the guy at Alabama? I think, he has all the intangibles to be the quarterback at Alabama. Absolutely. I think on the other hand, though, Mac Jones is clearly the guy going into the season just because he has so much experience and he showed some great leadership towards the end of the season. But I'm going to run to the next caller, Terry. I sincerely appreciate you. Have a great birthday. I hope you have a great week. Thank you starting off even my week with a great call, and I sincerely appreciate it. And we'll catch you soon right on BamaInsider.com. Have a great day, Terry.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, Terry from Birmingham calling in. It was his birthday. So call line is open. 205-686-3604 is the call line number. Today we're talking the Alabama quarterback position. And, there's several different points to talk about. As always with the quarterback position, you have the fact that Mac Jones is returning. We talked about that. And how much confidence do you have in Mac Jones? I'm curious to get your comments on that. We're also have the fact that Bryce Young does return for his Bryce Young enters Alabama for his freshman season, but we never got to see him during, spring football. All right. Good morning. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson, who I'm on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, how you doing? This is Daryl from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Daryl, what's up? Good morning to you. I appreciate you calling in from Charlotte. First of all, how was your Monday? You off to a great start?
Hey, I'm kicking and grinning, enjoying the sunshine.
Hey, that's good. So we're talking quarterbacks today. So, it's your show. Take it where you want, but I'd like to talk quarterbacks with you.
Yeah, I believe, considering from past history, I believe the young man Bryce, they're gonna throw him in the fire from the beginning because ain't no need in, tiptoeing around and going into the season and trying to. Hey, they just going. I believe Nick just going from past. You know, he just gonna go ahead and put him in the fire. Cause hey, I look back to Jalen Hurts' freshman year. I believe he could have progressed even more if he had been with the first team all through practice versus, you know, him learning during the season.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I give Nick credit for being a very smart, intelligent coach, and that's why I think he's gonna go ahead and put him in the fire. Simple fact, just go ahead and cause eventually the boy gonna be the starter.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, now let me ask you this, Daryl, and again, I appreciate you calling in this morning. When we look at the skill set, and let's start with Mac Jones first. Do you, as a fan of Alabama football, how much confidence do you have in Mac Jones? I want to start there.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I give him a 6.
Okay, all right, that's a little bit lower than I anticipated, but go ahead.
And reason being, you know, I believe a quarterback. I believe he got to have the right. Everything got to be going right for him. I believe an area that was last year was the tight end position, and you know, if you have a better tight end, that might work out for him. You know, if he in a place where you know you got a good quality running back like Alabama always had, good quality receivers. But the tight end was lacking, and that probably could have helped him out last year. So, but I mean, if you got a talent can make up for deficiencies in areas that you have. Mm-hmm. You know. So I mean, and speaking of that, I mean, like Minkah Fitzpatrick, he was so talented he could cover different areas that Alabama was weak in. That's what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have a talent. It can make up for deficiencies you have in other areas. Mm-hmm. And that's just my humble opinion. I mean, I believe this Bryce Young, I watched him, you know, some film footage on. I believe he is that talented that he can make up that difference in areas that you might be kind of weak in.
Yeah, and I think to your point, it's going to be interesting because Alabama's offense is so loaded. The offense is so dynamic already, returning Najee Harris. You have Jalen Watt on the outside, Devontae Smith. So whoever the quarterback is, they're going to have tons of firepower. And that's going to make you have more confidence, obviously, right? I mean, Mac Jones, we saw him during the Citrus Bowl. We saw him against Auburn. We saw him do some really good things. And I think with the offensive firepower that he has around him, or if it's around Bryce Young, those guys are going to just have a ton of confidence just because of the simple fact that there's so much firepower. And let me ask you this, Daryl. You have Steve Sarkisian, who's returning for, now his second season as Alabama's offensive coordinator. How big will that be for Alabama's overall offensive continuity during the 2020 season?
Man, that's why, hey, it's going to work out on both sides of the ball. That continuity plays a major role. I mean, no other school in college football can go through what Alabama has sustained year in, year out, losing players, losing coaches. You know, coaches going to another school, taking a 4 or 5 star athlete, 1 or 2 or 3 every year, and that makes a difference.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's interesting to see how Alabama has continued to stay among the top of the college football mountain, considering the losses that Nick Saban has had assistant coaching wise. I mean, this is one of the first years in several years that Alabama returns a ton of coaches under Nick Saban, right? I mean, yeah, exactly. So you have, I mean, everybody's returning, and I know we're kind of getting away from the quarterback position now, but I'm just, fascinated that Najee Harris is returning, that Steve Sarkisian is returning. I just think when you look at the offense overall, and we could talk about defense in another show, but I mean, the offense has so much firepower that I mean, and talking about the quarterbacks, it's like you have Mac Jones, who I'm curious, because you said you only have 6 out of 10 confidence in him. Bryce Young, I mean, he hasn't even taken a college football snap, but a lot of people have almost more confidence in him. And I get it. I mean, what he did at the high school level and the type of quarterback he is, I mean, he looks like he's someone that can just be a plug and play type quarterback. Unfortunately, we just didn't get to see him during the springtime.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, but hey, like I say, my opinion from the past, I believe Nick gonna go ahead and throw him in the fire. Got some pretty good games coming up again in the year. That game against Georgia, hey, you might as well see what you're working with.
Hey, well, I appreciate it so much for calling in today, Daryl. I hope you have a great rest of your Monday. Hope you have a very productive week. And thank you so much for calling in today. We appreciate it.
All right, you too.
All right, take it easy. Daryl from Charlotte. Appreciate him calling in. Call line is open, 205-686-3604. Call line is open. We are talking about quarterbacks today, the quarterback for the Alabama Crimson Tide. I feel I'm strongly opinionated in the fact that it's going to be Mac Jones. And I think I'm interested to why there's this, why a lot of people don't have confidence in Mac Jones coming back for the 2020 season. I get it. I think Bryce Young is going to be fantastic. I think he is going to be the guy at Alabama. No questions. But I think coming back to the season, I think you should have confidence in Mac Jones. I think that, what Mac Jones did when he was thrown into the fire, as Daryl said, last season, I think he did a fantastic job. Everybody wants to, talk about that Auburn game and why Alabama lost that Auburn game. Mac Jones wasn't the only reason that Alabama lost to Auburn. There were several reasons why Alabama lost to Auburn. Obviously, if Tua was in that game, it's a different story. But Mac Jones coming back, he has a lot of confidence. Watch that Citrus Bowl game. Watch the throws that he had on the money to Jerry Jeudy, to Henry Ruggs. I mean, he did a great job in that game. Call line is open, 205-686-3604. We're also talking about the fact that Taulia Tagovailoa has entered the transfer portal. So there's several different ways to talk about the quarterback position today on BamaInsider.com. We appreciate it. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. And think about becoming a Loyalty Club member. If you're watching on Facebook, we appreciate it. Thumbs up and share this, please. We're talking Alabama football. Everything back at BamaInsider.com. And tonight, we're going to have another recruiting call-in show with Andrew Bone. I know that was very successful last week. So the time for Andrew Bone's recruiting show will be tonight at 8 p.m. Central Time. And that'll be with Andrew Bone. So if you have recruiting questions, be sure and call back tonight at 8 p.m. Central Time. We're going to have a big recruiting show with Andrew Bone at BamaInsider.com. Call line is open, 205-686-3604. That is the call-in line number. I'm coming to you from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Today on BamaInsider.com, we're talking about the quarterback position. There's also some recruiting spillover. It was a big recruiting weekend for Alabama Crimson Tide, adding Ja'Cory Brooks, who's a big-time wide receiver out of the Miami area. Really start to see some momentum for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And also on Rivals, you're going to start see this week the recruiting ranking. So it'll be interesting to see if Alabama continues to move up in recruiting. I know everyone's talking about Tennessee recruiting. Yes, Tennessee has some recruiting buzz, right? But they landed another 4-star. But you have to remember, they also have 13 committed 3-stars. And none of those guys have signed their letter of intent. So it's a the recruiting season is we're still in marathon form, right? This isn't over. Don't doubt Dick Saban. They only have 4 committed prospects right now. And we're going to talk about that tonight on BamaInsider.com. Also in the comment box, I'd love to hear where you guys are coming from. Get a Roll Tide right in here from Tommy Thornton from Illinois. And, if you're coming to us on YouTube, wherever you're coming to us from, let us know where you're coming from in the comment box. And we're going to have Tony Tsoukalas join us at 9:20 on BamaInsider.com. So my name is Kyle Henderson. I am the managing editor of BamaInsider.com. And today we're talking the quarterback position. And I'd like to get your take on several different, takes on the quarterback position. One, your confidence in Mac Jones. We got another call line coming. All right. Good morning. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com. Who am I on the line with and where are you calling in from?
Hey, man, this is Skip. I'm in Jackson, Tennessee, man.
Skip from Tennessee. Appreciate it.
Yeah. LeBron Ray, I know he was injured last year, right? What's his status in the offseason? How's he coming along?
Well, first of all, I appreciate it. Skip from Tennessee, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Well, I'm from South Alabama originally. I'm a transplant up there. So
okay. All right, got you. When we're talking about, let me edit this real quick. Get your correct name up on the screen. I think when we talk about a player like LeBron Ray, and we're talking about quarterbacks today, but it's fine. We could talk about.
Oh, my bad, man. My bad. I just saw you were on, and I asked about LeBron Ray. We'll get to the quarterback. Sorry.
No. Let's talk LeBron Ray, and then we can talk some quarterbacks after. Is that cool?
Got you.
All right. So yes, when we talk about a player like LeBron Ray, I'm really curious to see what type of progression he has made year over year, considering that he was injured during the 2019 season. season. I think Alabama certainly needs pass rushers. I was a little bit disheartened in the fact that Raekwon Davis didn't really get to the quarterback as much as I anticipated him to during last season. But I think if LeBron Ray is healthy and pair him along with a guy like Christian Barmore, DJ Dell, pair those guys up with new defensive line coach Freddie Roach, I mean, I think you could have a winning formula. And I want to see some of these guys really get to the quarterback. I know Alabama's also going to have to look for some outside linebackers that are young, that are going to have to get after the quarterback as well, considering the fact that Alabama lost Terrell Lewis and Anthony Jennings. So a lot more question marks on the defensive side of the ball, in my opinion, going into this season. But one of the questions is LeBron Ray going to have that breakout season that we are expecting him to during this season? If he does, Alabama's defense is really going to be something to stop with Christian Barmore, LeBron Ray, and a lot of those younger guys that got plenty of experience during the 2019 season.
Yeah, like you said, lots of youth, but lots of really good, talented youth. So, we'll just see how the chemistry unfolds throughout the season. But to the quarterbacks, I know everybody's been talking a lot about Bryce Young, and, he didn't go through the spring, so he's still kind of an unknown. And I know he's been working with his quarterback coach. Who is his quarterback coach? Who's he been working with in the offseason?
Oh, he's been working out in California. I have to look that up, but our team writer Tony Sakalas had a great write up on that. He's been working with Juju Smith-Schuster as his wide receiver as well, so he's been getting plenty of experience. I mean, can you imagine that? I mean, yeah, you're not working with these guys here, but you're still working with NFL talent out on the West Coast.
Yeah, but modern day high school is like a college. I mean, their facilities. He has access to pro level coaching and pro level facilities. So him transitioning to Tuscaloosa isn't going to be like a Grand Canyon jump for this kid. He's going to be kind of almost ready for the moment. He's used to that environment. So I think that's what everybody's talking about. And plus his ability on the field. I think that's why everybody's talking about him pushing for the job. But I'm kind of with you. I think Mack starts. And until Mack shows Saban that, he can't get it done or he has a lapse, because quarterbacks can go into a lapse sometimes, so they kind of get in a funk, and they have to be sidelined to kind of see what they're doing wrong. But that's why it's good to have two really good quarterbacks, so you can put one of them on the bench and show, hey man, this is what you're doing wrong, this is what you're not seeing. And if it clicks, you put them back out there. You got options. So Nick Saban likes options. So, but I'm with you. I think Mac Jones starts, but Bryce Young is not going to redshirt. He's going to play plenty this year, and we're going to fit him in when for winning pretty handily in games. We're going to throw him out there and see what he can do, especially with the first string. That's how you can't throw him out there with the second, third string and really judge how good he is. You got to throw him out there with some first string snaps,
Yeah, now we're about to bring our team writer on, Tony Sakalas, but before I let you go, Skip, and we'll talk about this next, the fact that the transfer portal has been implemented now, I think you're also going to have to, it's going to put a little bit of heat on the fact that Nick Saban has to play these quarterbacks and has to play them early. Tony Sakalas, are you on the line? Can you hear us?
Hey,
Tony, are you? All right, Tony. Good. You're joining us on the live show, so we appreciate it. Skip, are you on the line as well? Skip?
Yes, sir.
All right,
yes,
Skip.
sir.
Tony, we're bringing you in, and Tony has a great article today on BamaInsider.com. Tony, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to keep Skip on the line, but Tony, before we dive into your article, and we're talking about the quarterbacks today, how much do you think the NCAA transfer portal will put pressure on Nick Saban? We're just talking quarterback situation to play some of these younger quarterbacks to get their feet wet.
I just think it makes sense to kind of play the younger quarterbacks regardless, just to get for the development standpoint. I think you're talking about Bryce Young here. It's the only really person I'd be talking about transferring and possibly without playing time. But I don't see Bryce being in that situation where he's going to really put too much pressure on Nick. It sounds like he's willing to wait his turn, but I don't think he just wants to sit on the bench. But I would think that there's going to be possibly, I mentioned it in the article, some packages maybe that you could put Bryce in, get him some meaningful snaps as well as the obvious garbage time snaps that he'll probably get as well. So I think we'll see plenty of Bryce Young, even if Mac Jones was to keep the job the whole season.
Hey, Skip. So we got Tony Tsoukalas, our team writer, on. Anything else? Or you have another quarterback question? I mean, Tony's great, talking team. So while you're on the line, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess the last quarterback that we got is Paul Tyson. I mean, just big picture, what do you really expect out of him in this program? Because it looks like just being honest, just speaking openly, it looks like he's between a rock and a hard place on actually getting meaningful, playing time while at the university. If Bryce Young turns out to be the real deal and he stays healthy and he doesn't transfer, I mean, what do you see do you see him staying at Alabama through the duration since he's Paul Bryant's great grandson, or do you see him? Is he good enough to possibly, transfer out if it looks like he's not going to get any playing time, which plays into how many quarterbacks Nick Saban needs to recruit in this coming up class and the next one?
I don't think you have to worry about him transferring. I think he's going to take a patient approach. I mean, I guess all of these guys have the potential of transferring, right? But I think when you look at Paul Tyson, look, when you looked at Mac Jones maybe a couple years ago, you were wondering probably the same thing about Mac Jones. Now I think he's going to be the starter. I think when you look at Paul Tyson, he's a talented quarterback in his own right. He kind of got overshadowed just because Alabama's had so much talent in that room. So he's 6'5". We've had a source tell us that he's gained 15 pounds this offseason, so he's up to 235. I mean, so he's a big kid. He's muscular. He's a good pocket passer. We saw what he could do in high school as well at Hewitt-Trussville. So I think he might be in a situation where he just needs to kind of be patient and wait, and perhaps something happens. What if an injury were to happen and he was to kind of be thrown into a situation and he really excels, So he's got some time. I would assume that he's a bright kid and he's going to graduate and put him in a position where later on in his career he'll have more options. That's kind of what Mac Jones did, and it worked out really well for Mac. So I kind of think that's the model that I think Paul Tyson would follow.
Yeah, I'm not taking anything away. I'm not saying he's not a good quarterback. I'm just saying he's got a big picture. And you answered my question. He's very talented. It's just that Alabama brings in so much talent that year in, year out that even though if you are really good, it's still tough to even crack the two deep sometimes. Especially for quarterbacks, since that's the only position. So.
Definitely. Yeah, he has two NFL quarterbacks in front of him. So
yeah, thank you so much, Skip. We appreciate you calling in, and be sure and give us a like and call in next time.
Yes, sir. Yeah, first time caller. Great show.
All right, thanks, buddy. All right. That was Skip in Tennessee. And before I take some of your calls, I want to talk with Tony. Tony, good morning. Thanks for joining us today. You have a great article today on the quarterbacks. And a lot of news kind of spilled over during the weekend. We had the commitment from Ja'Cory Brooks, and then we had Taulia Tagovailoa transfer. First of all, let's talk. And I don't even know if you've had time to research this. I've looked at it a little bit, and I'm talking Taulia Tagovailoa, possible transfer destinations. Is it just a slam dunk, in your opinion, that he just goes somewhere in Florida automatically?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think, it's different when both of your kids are at the same level, but it's not like, I don't think the family, is going to just revolve their whole life around Tua. It made a little bit more sense when they're both in college. They wanted to see both their kids play. They're both going to be playing on Saturdays. So it made sense maybe for him to come to Alabama so they could the family could do that together. NFL is different. Also, Tua is his own man. So I would expect, I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up in Florida, but I don't think it's exclusive only to Florida. I wouldn't be surprised if he finds a place that really fits for him, and good for him too, because I'm not sure how from the start Alabama was his choice. So just for Taulia's sake, I really hope that that he's able to find a place that A, he fits at, and B, that he really just wants to go and have the rest of his college experience there, because he's got maybe even 4 years left. Yeah, 4 years if you count the redshirt year. So
Sure. All right. Joining us today right now is team writer Tony Tsoukalas at BamaInsider.com. And tonight we're going to have a recruiting show with Andrew Bone, so be sure and join us. Today we're talking quarterbacks. Tony, I mean, when we go into this particular season, and I talked about it at the beginning of the show, it seems that not a lot of people have confidence in Mac Jones, which is so puzzling and perplexing to me, because I think both of us, and Tony and I don't agree on much. We do agree on some things, but Mac Jones, we're both set on the fact that Mac Jones is a proven quarterback that's going to get the job done. Talk about your confidence in Mac Jones coming back from the into the 2020 season.
I think a lot of people get excited when you have a shiny new toy in Bryce Young. And so I think what I would advise people is to not lose that excitement, because I think he's a great player, and I think he's going to be a generational style quarterback where he can really do some great things at Alabama. But you can't also then, just because you're so excited about Bryce, you can't also forget how good Mack is. And look how good he did. We've already seen it. It's like, you already know what's behind door one. He averaged 293 yards and 3.25 touchdowns in 4 starts, and that included Auburn and Michigan. And so he's done it against top defenses. He's done it in crucial situations. He's been able to overcome mistakes, which is really hard for a quarterback. Self-inflicted problems. He was able to kind of overcome that to a certain extent, to the point where I think, barring a missed field goal, he might have pulled that Auburn game out, and then he's a hero. So I think as long as he continues that success from last year, he's going to be the guy. I just don't see how anybody, like whether it's Bryce Young or anyone's going to take that away from him.
Yeah, and I think add on to the fact that we never got to see Bryce Young during the springtime, so he never got to build up that continuity with any of the offensive weapons going into the season. Now, we've talked about this before, and if you're a subscriber on BamaInsider.com or on our YouTube channel, you've seen the article with Bryce Young's father that Tony Tsoukalos wrote, and kind of just rehash that, Tony, a little bit and talk about some of the training and some of the progression that Bryce Young has made during the springtime going into the summer.
Yeah, so Bryce hasn't had a chance to work with Alabama's offense. He's been pretty hard at work in California. He's put on close to 15 pounds as well, just like Tyson. And he's at a good weight. I think he's at 197. That's the last time I talked with his father. He's been working with trainers. I'm sure that the restrictions over there got a little bit more intense since I talked with him. But he was able to work with trainers and with professional athletes. And he had he was throwing to Juju Smith-Schuster. He was throwing against some Chargers defensive backs and one of Derwin James. So he's basically practicing with Pro Bowlers over there. So he's got the talent to work with. He's got trainers who are familiar with Alabama's offense and are able to, kind of put him in situations where he can kind of practice that offense. It's not the same going, 11 on 11, and it's not the same of having, Devontae Smith to throw to. But he's not just coming into Alabama totally lost or, without any kind of spring preparation. He's been taking care of himself over there. So he will have a chance to compete for playing time. I'm not saying that he's just going to come in and just be this, mistake ridden, freshman. I think he's going to be really good. I think my confidence in Mack is more about Mack and less about, any kind of detraction I have on Bryce Young. Because I think he's going to be really good as well.
All right. One interesting fact about the quarterbacks is when you talk about intelligence, you always want the quarterbacks to have a high level of intelligence, be able to understand not only on the field concepts, but just be able to take care of business off the field. The current 3 quarterbacks on Alabama's roster, Mac Jones, Bryce Young, and Paul Tyson, each have 4.0. Isn't that right, Tony?
I'm working on confirming that, but I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure that's right. Yeah, that's a rare fact in my opinion.
I mean, think about that from an intelligence standpoint. I mean, these are the leaders that you want. I mean, it's just all these guys have different attributes, obviously, but I think it also says something that, these are the guys that can take care of business off the classroom. And I think that obviously bodes well with your leader, not only being a leader on the field, but also in the classroom. Tony, you want to take a couple more calls? We'll open the call line back up and we'll take a couple more calls. That sound good?
Yeah, sure.
All right, here we go. So call line is open, 205-686-3604. Coming to you from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. This is BamaInsider.com. If you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, please be sure and give us a thumbs up and a like. We appreciate it. All the coverage back on BamaInsider.com. If you're curious about being a member to BamaInsider.com, the promo code is simply Roll Tide. And make sure you, when you click the promo code, it's one word, Roll Tide. So, so we have Tony coming in today, and we have maybe another commitment later on this week. So we're going to have Andrew Bona, BamaInsider.com, join us tonight for our recruiting show. So be sure and join us tonight. Tony, also when you're talking about the quarterbacks, it's also important that you have continuity with your offensive coordinator. How important is it, in your opinion, that Steve Sarkisian returns for another season leading Alabama's offense? I think it's, I think that could make all the difference in the world, along with the firepower.
Yeah, I think it's important for a couple of reasons. Just because Mac Jones doesn't have to learn a new offense, and then B, you look at Bryce Young. He seems like he has a pretty good relationship with Sark. So everyone should be comfortable with the situation heading into the season. I think that's really important. I know that, even if they were to switch Sarkisian, it wouldn't have been a drastically different offense. You never really see, Alabama's just not all of a sudden going to start running, air raid offense or something like that, or they're not going to go to a triple option, or, they're not going to make any drastic changes, right? But just having that familiarity of Sarkisian, I think, is a big deal, just in terms of they're used to him. The players are used to how things work, and there's not that, learning period that, could take away from some of the developmental period.
Call line is open, 205-686-3604, coming to you from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, with Tony Tsoukalas. He's our team writer. You can catch both of us on Bama Insider. And, of course, on social media, you can find all our stuff everywhere on the internet, pretty much. We're talking the quarterback position today. As you know, Taulia Tagovailoa, transferred or entered the transfer portal just recently. So we talked about that this morning. Tony, when we continue to look at this offense, it's just so much firepower all over the field. And if we talk about potential breakout players or sleeper players, when you look at this offense, who are a couple guys who could really be those breakthrough players on offense this season, in your opinion?
It's got to be one of the receivers first. Whoever gets that third receiver spot is really going to have a shot at it. So whether it's John Mechie or Tyrell Shavers or Slade Bolden, I think, if there's a guy that kind of gets the bulk of those, starting reps at the third receiver next to Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith, I really think that they could have a big year, especially when you consider the attention that those other two are going to draw away from the third guy. Running back wise, does Trey Sanders count? Yeah, I guess he would. He hasn't played yet. I think he could have a really breakout year. I think everyone already kind of views him as a star, at least I do. So we haven't got to see him yet, but I would assume he instantly becomes a star. I think too, you look at some guys like Jaleel Billingsley on the tight end, could be a real receiving option at that position, where they have some contributors at that position, but I think when you look at that position, the tight end, Jaleel Billingsley is kind of like one guy that I think has star potential out of that unit. And that might not be being fair to some of the other options, but when I look at him, I see him having the most star potential. On the offensive line, a guy like Emil Ekiyor Jr. Could step into a starting role. Big Mauler guy, Darian Dalcart, same thing at center. So there's a lot of guys that could kind of step in those roles.
All right. Well, we're going to let Tony go, and we'll continue with the show. But thanks, Tony, for joining us today. And, you can catch all his great work back at BamaInsider.com. So we'll catch up with you in a little while, Tony. Appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, man.
All right. All right, that was Tony Tsoukalas of BamaInsider.com joining us. He has a great article today on the quarterback position. Be sure and find his work on BamaInsider.com. I'll take a couple more calls. 205-686-3604 is the call-in line number, coming to you from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Today, we've talked a variety of, topics surrounding the quarterback position. And I think it's, there's a lot to talk about with the quarterback position, just considering the different elements, and especially with the fact that Taulia Tagovailoa just announced that, well, he didn't announce it. We learned it, that he entered the NCAA transfer portal, and kind of figuring out where he could potentially land up, talking some landing spots for him. The fact that we also talked about Bryce Young and, a lot of people's expectations of Bryce Young to come in. And a lot of people obviously have high expectations about every single freshman. But when you come in as a 5-star to Alabama, those expectations are very high, and people want to see you perform at the highest level. And when you look at guys who you really contributed this last season as true freshmen, there was plenty of them, right? And I think it's interesting because a lot of people feel and say that that freshmen don't play at Alabama. And think about it. Alabama played 2 inside linebackers that were true freshmen. Alabama also played Evan Neal at the guard position. And we've talked about Everett Neal several times. He's out of position, played every single game for Alabama. Is the most starts as a freshman on Alabama's offensive side of the ball. He's going to potentially move to the tackle position. So you talk about freshmen that really got their feet wet. Those are two guys. You also have on the defensive side of the ball, there was plenty of defensive players that got playing time. Justin Ebogbe, Byron Young. You had Jordan Battle, who I think could be a great star for Alabama in the secondary. So Scott, and I see your comment right here, and I appreciate it. And we'll definitely talk more about the defense. But today we're talking about the offense, and I would be happy to take your calls. 205-686-3604 is a call in line. I'll take a couple more calls and start this Monday off right. And like I said, tonight, please don't forget recruiting show tonight at 8 p.m. Central Time with Bone. So 8 p.m. live with Bone right here on our YouTube channel. So make sure that you guys are dialed in for that 8 p.m. live with Andrew Bone. Get your recruiting questions as Alabama continues to build up speed in this recruiting class. I know it's been a slow process with only 4 committed prospects, but Alabama is certainly building something special, landing the number 2 overall wide receiver in the country in Ja'Cory Brooks. Check out his highlights, fantastic highlights. And I think it's interesting. I'll talk about this another time. Alabama has 2 wide receivers that have committed. Both are in that 6'2", 6'3" range. And it's a kind of a different approach than some of the receivers that they've had. So you got to think when you look at targets that are next, they need to pick up some guys who could play in that slot. Check out this name. If you guys like to watch huddle highlights, type of this name. Christian Leary. He's out of the Orlando area. Watch his tape, and then we'll talk about it another time. I mean, fantastic, very electric. Honestly, he's got moves like Jalen Waddle. He's that fast. Andrew Bone said he's one of the fastest players in all of the country. So when you look at targets that they need, certainly, Andrew said they could take 5 wide receivers. So they got 2 on board. 3 could potentially head to Alabama. We're talking quarterbacks today. I'll take a couple more calls. My name is Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com. 205-686-3604 is the call-in line number. And what's up, Justin? I see your question. I'll put it on the screen. Terrell Shavers, will he finally get on the field? I certainly think so. This is a guy who's 6'6", 180 pounds, and probably more than that, right? He's got to be close to that 200-pound range now. And a guy that you think can certainly stretch the field, create mismatch problems in one-on-one situations, just being that he is, a very big wide receiver with some great speed. I think he's like a 4.4 type guy. So, yeah, I certainly think he is a guy who can get on the field. And probably when you talk about offensive players, I know Tony mentioned a couple of them. I think Shavers is another guy. How about Slade Bolden? I know a lot of people like him, and that was another name that Tony mentioned. So, yeah, Alabama has plenty of guys that could certainly step up, and I think we're all anticipating guys like Trey Sanders and Bryce Young, and we missed out on that, not seeing them during the springtime. Call line still open, 205-686-3604. Take a couple questions, and it really helps out. The thumbs up, and you can also think about becoming a loyalty club member, different perks for BamaInsider.com subscribers. You can learn more about that by hitting the join button right under this video. Other than that, I'll wrap it up. This has been a great show. Thank you so much for calling in. We'll try to do, I'm trying to figure out the best time for these morning shows, whether it's at 9, whether it's, a little bit later, if it's in the evening. I know our recruiting show was very popular last week, so we're trying to figure out the formula, and looks like we'll take one more call. Hey, what's going on? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Good morning. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
This is Mario calling from Atlanta, Georgia.
Hey, what's up, Mario? How you doing? Thank you very much for starting off your day with us. We appreciate it.
I got a question. I'm just curious if you believe that since we didn't have a spring game, will it keep some guys around that might transfer if they put their role on the depth chart?
That's an interesting question. There's so many things that we didn't get to learn during the springtime. I thought it was interesting, just kind of like a subtle kind of a nugget that Alabama put is that Giles Amos, the tight end for Alabama, that he was still on one of those videos. And I think he was a name that entered the transfer portal. I know it's not a significant name, but I think that's a good question and something that we could learn as we, move to some sort of spring ball or something like that. But I think that's a good question in terms of other names that could potentially stick around or names that could still dip out. There's been several guys that have entered the transfer portal or have vacated, but I think there's still going to be a couple more pieces that shake out as we move through the summertime. What else you got, Mario?
That's about it. I was just, I didn't even think I would get through.
Yeah, short and simple. Well,
yeah, I didn't think I would get through, but yeah, I'm sitting here watching you guys and just see. Can we speed up the recruiting? I'm from Atlanta, so everybody be on. So you got to get on your job.
Yeah, we'll watch the recruiting show tonight. It's at 8 p.m. Central Time. Hopefully you're done with all your chores by then. And I know I will be. So, we'll get together at 8 o'clock tonight. We'll get Andrew Bone on the line and we'll take some calls and we'll talk recruiting. So if you're around, Mario, be sure and check it out. We'll talk recruiting tonight with Andrew Bone. But we appreciate you starting out our day with us, and we'll catch you soon, okay?
No problem. Roll time, my brother.
Right, take it easy, man. All right, that was Mario. That's a good ending point for us. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on BamaInsider.com. We hope you enjoyed the show. Special guest today, Tony Tsoukalas of BamaInsider.com. Read his quarterback article right now on BamaInsider.com. My name is Kyle Henderson. I'm the managing editor here at Bama Insider. Follow all of us on our social channels, and we'll catch you soon. Have a fantastic rest of your Monday. Have a productive week. We'll catch you soon at BamaInsider.com.